What's going on, everybody? Today I have a very special episode. You might not be able to see me right now on my face, but hopefully you recognize my voice. It's Alex from Be the Trader. And I have a special guest, James Freedlender. He's been on the show multiple times before. And I've had a couple of requests of people asking questions like, could you ever create a segment where you kind of go over a specific trade and in your thought process? Well, we hear you, and we're going to try to do that today for you. So, James, I appreciate you being part of one of the first episodes to do this.
Of course.
Really appreciate that, man. So if you take it away.
Sure.
I have the daily up first, just FYI.
Cool. So coming into Thursday, TLSA was the stock kind of moving. I think everybody was watching it, and it was gapping up. And so immediately, if you're a short bias trader, kind of a momentum guy, you're obviously looking for the big movers. So this had gapped up pretty huge. So looking at the intraday chart at this point, it's good timing because Alex just had interviewed Alex Temes from My Investing Club. So I'm going to go over on My Investing Club strategy we call the death line. So basically, what the death line is the last line of defense, like support for the stock. So what we recognized as the morning went on was that TLSA had somewhat of a death line around 365. So basically what that means is it doesn't mean it's an auto short the second it breaks. So what usually the way we like to play these is we're, looking at, obviously it's a downtrending chart. So we like to have multiple levels of resistance. So the way I did it and the way I approached it was I took a small starter when 365 broke, and my ideal plan was to scale a bounce to the previous resistance, right? And this one was what I loved was that we not only had like a 390 resistance, but we also had VWAP right there. Mm-hmm. So my ultimate risk could have been really, VWAP, $4, like right in there. So I tried to actually get a piece on in the morning with all those nasty like wicks. I hate the 8 a.m. candles. They kill me. But in there, it was bouncing near 390. So I tried to get a piece on and it was one of those things where I was on the ask. I tried moving myself down a little bit, and I never got filled. So just had to wait, came back down. Again, I'm only in probably, a very small starter, like 10 to 15% of my max size. Then we finally rebounded, bounced again to 380. So I added. So I'm sitting with like a 370s average. As we came down into death line, I just covered a piece just so I could kind of, as we got closer to the open, be ready to add bigger size. And then when we broke down, I actually just reshorted what I covered. Brought my average down a little bit, but then just, covered into the 350s because I know it was going to support just off the whole and $0.50 idea. So at this point, I'm still just recycling. I have a piece on. We pushed back to 380. I short some more. And same thing, just rinse and repeat, right? So we got another wash into like 350. So I covered the piece that I added. And now we're so close to the open. I just set a fantasy order for, if you can clearly see that 380 line, kind of coupled with VWAP. Got the nice top tick there. And had a cover out there at 350 again, right? It's just all my trading is very similar, just rinse, repeat, cover at support, short resistance, as simple as it sounds. And then we got a really hard pull into the 330s. And at that point, I felt like that was pretty big move, so I wanted to cover some. And the way I trade is I use both VWAP, so I use intraday and pre-market like VWAP. So people always ask me how I scale with these. So I like to use both. So I will short pops into the intraday VWAP and also use the regular VWAP, including pre-market data as well. So if it had popped there, I was ready to add. But my ultimate risk really was like a reclaim of, VWAP / that kind of like that high of day level at 377. I felt if it got over that, it was kind of not doing what I wanted it to. But it did. It stayed under. So I just continued to scalp kind of around a core until we, started really breaking down. And by the time we got into the 320s, I just wanted to cover at low of day. And that's what I did. And it ended up working well because I think it ended up rebounding a little bit and kind of staying stagnant for the rest of the morning.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And one thing just to reiterate and show everyone is James, obviously, he has a plan. Like before he entered the stock, he already knew what his setup was. And in this case, he calls it the death line, part of MIC strategy, where they wait for a key level, the last line in the sand, to break, and he doesn't go all in right away. He tests it out, gives a feeler, and he actually would appreciate a bounce where most people would get faking out, he actually wants that balance to get, add more size and then cover on the dips and then short the pops. And that's clearly what he did here, sticking to his risk level, which is something that hopefully a lot of you guys can take away. And is there any advice you'd give to anybody who may try kind of this kind of style of trading in terms of the death line? Anything that maybe was difficult when you first tried it?
Yeah, of course. So when I first started trying to do this, I'd always want to slam huge size as like a key level of support broke, as well as like VWAP. But the key is with like these moves, when you're trying to slam, I just recommend always using a starter, because I'd rather, use a starter and as it bounces, add into that, because you're adding into, strength, and you don't want to, shorting weakness is never really a good idea, especially when you're new. So if you're going to do it, start with a small starter, with plans to add up higher to the last resistance point. Again, I've kind of come into this week, especially with the idea of I want to react, not anticipate. So I don't want to anticipate a breakdown with big size. I want to react to how the stock kind of moves after that key level has broken.
Perfect. Well, look, James, I appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. And other than that, my man, if y'all want to reach out to James, find him at James Freedlender on Twitter, and definitely look him up on MIC. Thanks, you guys. Thanks again, James.
See you, man. Thank you.